don't compare your body or your current physique to what it was in your 20s or during your teenage. And on social media, bad advice is loud and good advice gets lost in all the noise.
What actually prompted you to move from this cushy corporate job into being a stay-at-home dad and fitness coach?
I was in a call at around 9 p.m. I think. My son made a casual remark. He said, when I grow up, I'll ensure I spend the nights with my kid. I won't be in meetings all day.
Is brown food healthier than white food?
No, but if you ask the marketer, they'll say yes, because that's how they make their money.
Will doing crunches burn my belly fat?
No. Trying to burn belly fat by doing crunches is like trying to remove water from the middle of the swimming pool. As a thumb rule, I would say stay away from someone throwing a lot of food rules at you.
The three most popular Google queries around health and fitness are: 1. How to lose weight without actually trying. 2. Is intermittent fasting safe? And 3. Why am I always tired? The answer to all of these is it depends. Health and fitness is a very personal thing, and each of us holds a very unique meaning for it. While there's so much of information around this topic today, there's also a lot of misinformation and disinformation, which, if you follow, you'll find yourself in a whole lot of trouble. Well, then, who the hell are we supposed to listen to? We have one such person with us on our show today. Before we introduce this guest, I want to introduce myself and my co host. Hello, everybody. My name is Lakshan. I'm one of your co hosts for this episode.
And I am Goldie, your other co-host for this episode. And this is episode 37 of Mind the Gen Gap podcast. We're in season 2, guys. And this podcast has a spirit this season, which lies in inviting interesting people with interesting perspectives to share their expertise with us.
And today I'd like to introduce our guest for this episode, who goes by the name of Karthik Nagarajan. Now, Karthik is a project manager turned stay-at-home dad and fitness coach who's worked with over 400 clients across 5 continents in the last 4 years alone. He primarily works with parents using an approach that helps them get fit by doing less and not more. So I think question 1 of the most popular questions on Google about health and fitness will get answered over there if you listen to this entire podcast. Karthik's approach to health and fitness is built on practicality and adaptability. He preaches and practices, more importantly, an all or something approach to fitness and health rather than an all or nothing approach. Now, there's a lot more to Karthik with respect to him as a person, as a professional, as a parent, and all of that will be coming out in this episode today. So, without further ado, Karthik, welcome to Mind the Gen Gap podcast. How are you feeling?
Awesome. I've listened to this podcast for a while now. Really cool what you and Goldie have been doing. Some of the topics you have covered, especially the episode on fitness, is something I really enjoyed. A lot of interesting takeaways for me from that episode, especially around generational fitness. Yeah, excited to be here.
I think one of the topics that will come up is generational fitness because that's what our podcast is all about. If I'm not wrong, Goldie, this is your first time interacting with Karthik on a video or voice level, right? Typically, what I've seen, it's like on LinkedIn, right? So
Absolutely. Yeah. We had a moment before you stepped in. So we've had a very brief introduction, but I'm super excited to meet you, Karthik. Welcome to our show. And I think what has struck me so far in your bio is the fact that you gave up your role as a project manager and pursued such a delightful purpose, and that too for specifically for dads, right, who want to get fit again. And of course I resonate with that so much because I'm a mum and my husband is constantly having this conversation with me as well. So yeah, I mean, that's fantastic. Just the fact that your purpose is such a strong built passion that carves from a place that you yourself are in. And I think that we're really happy to have you here. Yeah.
So while Karthik is a fitness coach primarily for parents and dads, more specifically, busy professionals essentially, he also happens to be my fitness coach. I'm not a I mean, busy professionally, yes, not a parent yet, but hopefully I'll be able to fit that criteria soon. But before we go into me fitting that criteria, Karthik, I'm curious to know what actually prompted you to move from this cushy corporate job into being a stay-at-home dad and fitness coach.
It wasn't an overnight transformation, Satyam. It For me, things really started during the COVID lockdown. I think before the lockdown, I was living a typical uh, life as a dad, as a 30 something year old, working a corporate job. Very consistent with partying, super inconsistent with fitness. That's how I would put it. That all changed with the COVID lockdown. Uh, Helped me go cold turkey on the partying aspect. And then I think we all wanted something to focus on to keep our sanity while we were all locked down indoors. Some people found that through dalgona coffee. For some, it was baking. For me, it was calisthenics. I was looking for ways to improve my fitness, bring more focus into the fitness game, which I was very inconsistent with before. I found a new certification, a course around calisthenics, and one thing led to the another. I started gaining strength, transformed myself, did a couple of levels of certifications along the way. And then, right out of the lockdown, I became a fitness coach. So it all started for me during the COVID lockdown, and then I went from 10 to 10.
Wow. I think the fact that COVID made such an impact on so many of us, I think in different ways, as you've mentioned, and something we all have to remember is what did we entertain ourselves with back then? And how many of us have actually pursued that same entertainment today, moving forward 5 years down the line? And I think Karthik has beautifully proven that his discovery back then, I think, just led him to action. And of course, that action has doubled, tripled to 400 clients, which is quite the milestone. I'm curious to ask you, Karthik, although you had it very ingrained in you as to why this shift had to occur, this 180 that you imbibed over the lockdown, when you present yourself to your clients and invite them to consider what you are doing, what would you say is your core philosophy or purpose in the way you train and coach your clients for primarily success? I think that's what everyone's looking for.
Yeah, I think my core philosophy stems from a couple of catalysts which actually helped me or made me go from doing both the corporate job as a project manager and handling clients to a full-time stay-at-home dad to a fitness coach. Couple of things happened, couple of incidents. One was a huge life-changing event. I moved back to Chennai in 2022. My dad had retired from his work that year. I wanted to be close to my parents. So all of these years I was working in Mumbai, close to a decade as a project manager. Came back to Chennai, wanted to spend more time with parents. He suddenly passed away in November that year due to failure. That sort of made me stop and think about the way I was approaching life and how fickle life can be, and the fact that we think we always have more time. So that was one big moment. The second one was not so big. It was more of a casual incident where I was doing my corporate job on back-to-back calls during a regular day. I was in a call at around 9 p.m. I think. My son made a casual remark. He said, "When I grow up, I'll ensure I spend the nights with my kid. I won't be in meetings all day." That again sort of made me pause and reflect, is this what I am supposed to be doing all the time? And in 2023, I went full time. I decided to stay at home, focus on my fitness coaching. And in the 2 years that I passed, 2+ years that I passed now, most of the days I'm putting my son to bed, telling him a bedtime story. That's where my fitness philosophy, the way I approach fitness comes from. I think that's the core for me. And Lakshan touched on this point already when he introduced me. I believe in changing from an all or nothing approach to an all or something approach when we are approaching health, fitness. I don't believe in making wholesale changes. Probably when I started off as a fitness coach, based on the company policies and how I was trained, my outlook on fitness was different compared to what it is now. So I've evolved over time, and at least in the last 2 years, I have solidified this philosophy of all or something, where I believe instead of looking at making wholesale changes to your lifestyle, think about what is one doable thing you can do today. And you don't need to train for 6 hours a week. If you're able to lift weights or train for 2 hours every week consistently over many years, you'll be in a much better position in terms of your health, fitness, and whatever you're looking to achieve. Same goes for your nutrition as well. If the diet is so hard that you are hating the possibility or some of the meal choices that you have day to day, then it won't be enjoyable. What you're trying to do won't be sustainable. So I believe simple, doable changes are the key, and especially true for parents. The great thing is, I also have soon to be parents or folks in their 20s like Lakshan and some of the other clients I'm training buying into this philosophy.
So, out of everything that you shared, Karthik, what stuck out for me was this incident you mentioned with your son. Uh, this casual throwaway remark that when I grow up, I won't do what you do to my children, and yeah, that's the thing that like really stood out to me based on what you said. Goldie, what stood out for you from what he
Oh,
said?
so many things. I'm seeing this lineage of generational wealth that's being passed down from, I think, we go through life learning from incidents, and quite often things that are not so pleasant teach us the biggest lessons. So I'm seeing that in the unfortunate incident where your dad passed, and I'm sorry to hear this, but it really was an awakening, right? It's when you realize life really is fickle, Karthik's words. And I think that is a lesson that we are learning from maybe the boomers. In this case, I would like to imagine your dad was a boomer, uh, definitely not an X, I'm sure. And so what they probably didn't practice is something we need to pass on the baton in a different way. And so in the same philosophy of wanting to be healthy and lead a life where you want to spend time with your children, there's also this idea of let's cut off these old values and old thinking methods and pass on something new and something fresh that then ties into this Gen Alpha. I'm guessing your son must be, or very very late. Yeah. And as you said, it's a casual remark, but it's the thinking of a Gen Alpha, isn't it? They are the disruptors, as we call them. They don't want to do things the way that we have, or even Gen Z are doing. So again, lesson learned. Absorbing things from both generations, and being. I think you must be a millennial. I'm guessing yourself. So this is just what we're talking about: the wealth that he's creating just by doing this one thing. And of course, fitness is a byproduct, isn't it? That's what I'm taking away. So looking good or feeling good is a byproduct, but there's such a big story behind it that will be passed on. And then, of course, what you said at the end, which is even the younger millennials or even some Gen Z are taking on this philosophy, buying it, as you quite rightly said. I think that's the biggest gift one can give to their clients, something that's tried and tested and actually lived through their own lifetime. So yeah, I mean, and if that's not success, then what is, in my humble opinion? Yeah.
Yeah, this thing about generational wealth that you brought up a couple of times in what you just shared, Goldie, it's taking me into my next question, which is something that you and I have discussed a lot in the past. We continue to do so even now, and this is something that I've touched upon with Karthik as well. So, in my case, my reason for becoming fit, of course, is because I want it, and then all this stuff is there, right? But what helped me kind of build that sense of discipline and consistency initially when I started was my dad, because he was someone who was a runner, ultramarathoner. He was full that entire the full 9 yards, so to say, right? And but he did not have uh, a Shrikant for himself. So for him, life happened, and that's what kind of pushed him into this direction, right? Because of the decision that he made, I looked at him as an example, and I eventually started. My brother looked at him as an example, and he's like the runner in the house now. And what decision he made is kind of bearing fruit for us, and it will continue to bear fruit for my kids and the generations that come after that. What is the role you feel, Karthik, that a family plays with respect to health and fitness in a generational context?
You made a great point about how your dad sort of paved the way for you to think about fitness and sort of look at it as something you have to do, not something which is a luxury, right? And I hear this a lot when I'm talking to my clients uh, based in Europe or Australia, not so much in India. They're always talking about how fitness is a part of life for the locals there, be it riding to work in a cycle, going to the gym regularly, going on hikes. I think growing up in the 80s and 90s, we didn't have that here in India. And that's specifically what I'm trying to change when I'm working with parents and even folks in their 20s, mid to late 20s, who will be parents very soon. Okay? Uh, every week, when I'm talking to clients, I hear stories about how their kids are joining them in their home workouts, how they're helping them, make breakfast, add protein to their breakfast, remind them to eat better, make healthier choices. And these are 4-year-old, 6-year-old, right? Imagine the impact that their parents' choices will have when they grow up. Ultimately, they'll grow up looking at fitness as part of life. I read this beautiful article where the core message was about how exercise is part of your job. Right? I don't think folks who grew up in the 80s and 90s really thought of fitness that way. Again, another example is uh, a family, a couple that I'm coaching in the UK. These are long-term clients. The dad in the house, he started first working with me. He spent a year transforming his physique, health, his cholesterol levels improved. He got leaner, stronger. Looking at his transformation, his wife signed up with me. She went from someone who has done cardio only fitness on and off to lifting weights in her office gym during the office break. And again, looking at her improving her strength levels, feeling so confident in her 40s, their teenage daughter has signed up for gym class in school. She And all three of them now nudge each other, inspire each other, push each other to lift weights, get stronger. That's how important it is for families to think of fitness as part of everything that they do. Again, today I had a client have her dad sign up with me. Her dad is 65-year-old, and her mom is also about to sign up. She's 55 years old. She she is a new mom. She's seen the benefits of working on her fitness, lifting weights, improving her diet, and she wants the same for her parents, who in their uh, older years, for them it's about improving their strength, taking care of their health. So there is a fine thread that connects all of this across generations. And I think as parents, I think of ourselves as being the closest and the most impactful influence in our kids' habit radius. And what they see us do is what they will grow up normalizing. And yeah, I think it's more about setting the right example for the next generation more than anything.
It's
I think
amazing.
what, yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
again, so many beautiful parallels I can sort of resonate with, because I happen to be in my mid to late 40s myself, and it's true, it's monkey see, monkey do, isn't it? Really, there's so many examples that you gave that I can identify with, whether it's my mum, who's now turning 70 this year, and for her fitness was just something that she saw on TV. She comes from the Jane Fonda days, where that was a complete like luxury to watch, like a video, someone doing aerobics, or it was what supermodels did. So it just imagine the way these things have evolved over time. To my daughter, who now watches a TikTok video and sees something fun to work out with. But as you said, the common thread really is who's setting that example and who's watching and who's doing. Whether it's someone like me, who is now perimenopausal, and my entire world revolves around protein, and mobility and strength training, which is a narrative that did not exist 10 years ago. I had other priorities then. I'm also a runner, as you both know, but that's taken maybe not like a back seat, like a middle to front, like third row seat, not like a first row seat. Strength training always takes a first row seat in my personal conversation with myself. But I think it's that, isn't it? Each generation has their own set of priorities when it should come to fitness. And this is the question I want to ask you, Karthik, because you work with so many different age groups. Do you see like a pattern of how different generations view their own frame of health and fitness?
If I can sort of start off with my example, in my teenage, I started going to the gyms with the dream of getting a six pack. Heavily influenced by film stars. The Rocky series was a huge influence on what I wanted my physique to look like. As always, a skinny kid back then. 20 years have passed. The reason why any teenager goes to the gym now, gets his or her first gym subscription, I think it remains the same. It's still driven by aesthetics, and I don't see anything wrong with that. But that purpose of why we go to the gym, why we lift weights, or why we do anything related to fitness, that changes with time, um, especially after your mid 30s, and you're training more for your physical and mental health more than a six pack. You are training to have better energy to play with your kids at the end of your workday. You are training to avoid pain, the niggles that develop, back pain, shoulder pain because of long sedentary jobs that most of us are in. And all of this takes front takes the front rows, like you said. And we work on actively improving quality of life and the aesthetic progress, the results that happen, you getting leaner, looking better in your polo t-shirt, all of it becomes a bonus. That's how I see fitness focus and what we want out of our time that we spend for fitness. That's how it changes.
Mm.
So it's so what I'm hearing from Karthik Goldie basically is that more than a generations thing, it's more so where you are in your journey of life thing. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. 100%. Yeah.
That's interesting because in my head I always thought that okay, each generation views it differently, but it's not so much the generation itself; it's about where
True.
they are in their life at that point in time. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's a good
that's interesting.
discernment. It makes so much sense when you sort of see the different examples he mentions, because truly my 20-year-old is only about getting his six pack, right? Just as much as just as much as maybe my husband, who was back then in his 20s, also thought the same thing. So the story is still the same. It just takes a different shape and form and different identities as time passes. Yeah.
Yeah. Starting this episode with you, we've decided that moving forward, whatever guest episodes that we do, we're going to have a small segment where we play a game of true or false. Okay. Goldie and I are going to share some popular beliefs around, in this case, of course, health and fitness. And you'll have to say whether it's true or false and why. Okay. Are you ready?
Okay,
Goldie, you want to go first?
happy to
Sure.
start the topic.
Okay, so number one, is whey protein only for bodybuilders?
Whey protein is, I mean, I'll start off with saying no. Whey protein is long been considered a steroid and not as a supplement which is helping vegetarians especially meet their protein requirement day to day.
So I have one. I have a belief. It ties into the second query that I mentioned about the Google queries, right? About intermittent fasting. Intermittent fasting is not safe. True or false?
False. It, I think a little bit of it depends. It's important to listen to your body and find the rhythm, a system which suits you based on where you are in life and what your current work routine, life situation is.
Hmm. Okay, I have one which, for the longest time, and I still sometimes wonder, is brown food healthier than white food?
No, but if you ask the marketer, they'll say yes because that's how they make their money.
But why do they do that?
Oh gosh.
Uh, it, it, yeah, it started off with marketers. It continues with influencers now.
Oh, God.
Because a lot of times we choose wrong food, uh, stating the logic that has better fiber,
Hmm.
healthier, and all of that. For example, it's brown bread or jaggery or brown sugar instead of white. But for us to get enough fiber to actually get those health benefits, we need to consume so much of the brown food that it will make it automatically unhealthy. If you want to go for fiber, more fiber, choose vegetables, fruits, seeds, and nuts. If you want more minerals, which is the argument people put for when they are choosing jaggery or brown sugar or organic sugar over white sugar, then those minerals are best sourced from variety of whole foods. You won't be eating so much jaggery that you get enough to think. whatever minerals you're trying to get from it. Again, it'll automatically make it unhealthy. They're eating so much sugar.
That makes sense. Makes a lot of sense. I have one. So this is something that I've been hearing for the longest time, which is that uh, eating carbs after 6 p.m. will lead to weight gain. True or false?
No, because the calories in rice or any carbs would remain the same even after 6 p.m. 100 grams of uncooked rice would have around 350 calories. That doesn't change once the clock strikes 6.
We're learning so much today, honestly. Okay, I have one. Um, will doing crunches burn my belly fat?
No. Crunches help improve your ab strength or core strength. But if trying to burn belly fat by doing crunches is like trying to remove water from the middle of the swimming pool. I'm sure you would agree you won't be able to just remove water from the center of the pool.
What a beautiful metaphor.
Yes, it's amazing. Yeah. Okay. I have one. The best diet is the diet that you can stick to consistently. True or false?
True, 100%. Uh, the diet, if you're choosing fat diets, chances are you wouldn't sustain the new diet beyond 4 to 5 weeks. That's why when I'm talking to people, I hear a lot of people tell me about, hey, I tried cutting out carbs, I tried keto, I went low carb, I went paleo, but then I gained back all of the weight.
I hear an important message here, which is your happiness and sustainability plays a big role in what you're eating in terms of what will be long lasting. And I think that's a very consistent message that Karthik's been giving us through and through. This is not some short term fix. This is not like something you're doing, he's doing to make you look, I don't know, like some supermodel and then you forget about it. It's like a long term, life changing game. And I think food is essentially a big part of this. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. So,
it's more about the after, not just about the before after. That's how I look at it.
yeah, I love that.
Yeah, it's a nice one.
Nice one. Cool. Okay. I'm going to go with my last one. Does eating ice cream cause cold?
No, I'm sure
Yes.
parents would disagree. At least ask you to remove this part of the episode if their kids are listening. But yeah, cold is caused by virus
Okay, yes.
and not
Yes.
not ice cream that's cold.
Right.
I need to show this to mom today. Gosh. Oh, God, that's a good one. Okay, cool. So that's the last of our true or false myth busting, belief confirming part of this episode.
Just to add to just to add to the question and my response on whey protein, right? It's only for bodybuilders. Even dairy formula, the Nan Pro and likes, it has whey protein. And not, I don't think a lot of people know that.
So essentially, you're starting your whey protein intake since you're very, very young. Essentially, yeah, makes
Should
sense.
continue it from there, but somehow we let all of the noise, myths get to us.
Yeah.
Speaking of noise, Karthik, that's actually the next question I have in mind. Okay. So I spoke about how there's so much of misinformation and disinformation around this whole fitness space today. And social media is like the biggest culprit when it comes to that thing. What do you feel is the role that social media and more specifically influencers, play with respect to health and fitness today?
The nature of social media, and I think it's rapidly changed even from when I was starting out, trying to wrap my head around some of the fitness topics, be it with nutrition or exercise. It's rapidly evolving, and unfortunately, it's not evolving to help an average person or a general population person to improve their health. And on social media, bad advice is loud, and good advice gets lost in all the noise. We have too much information and a lot of confusion because of the information overload. I think we have gotten to a point where we actually need to consider de-influencing, maybe not follow some of the content that's on social media, especially be very careful about content that's viral. Right? And I think, and I've even seen some memes or sketches on this topic. If we have to believe all of the information that we get from influencers, especially around what we need to eat and what we shouldn't, I think we'll all end up only consuming pills, severely malnourished. Right? As everyone has their own bias, and they're always throwing food rules at you, which in the hopes that they go viral, stay relevant. So, and each of them is sort of competing in terms of how clickbaity they can make their content and how viral they can make it go. So, as a thumb rule, I would say stay away from someone throwing a lot of food rules at you. And this is especially true for when people are looking for information on what to eat and what they shouldn't when it comes to improving their health. Right? Stay away from biohackers, stay away from anyone saying their way is the only best way. You'll have influencers promoting a carnivore diet, you'll have influencers promoting clean eating, a vegan diet, sattvic food, all of this. They'll say sugar is evil, they'll compare sugar to cocaine, they'll say anything to try and make their content go viral and get followers and attention. Right? I think if I can share a few checkpoints or pointers which we can keep in mind when we are consuming information is to think one, if the advice or the information is applicable to my current life situation. It could be a beginner, it could be an advanced trainee, it could be looking to manage lifestyle diseases. So a lot of content on social media is very generic, won't be applicable to you where you are in terms of your current situation. That is one. And I would also think if the advice is causing more friction to putting in some of the health habits, right? Is the person trying to make health even more complicated for me? Or is this information helping me remove friction and make the healthy choice easy? That is one. That is number two. And then we should also be careful to see whether the person, the influencer, is trying to sell a supplement at the end of the day. Okay? Yeah. At least it'll help us filter out some of the noise.
Yeah. I'm particularly moved by this whole idea of the speed at which the virality of content gives us the wrong information, tentatively focusing us towards a path which may not even be suitable to our personal needs. And I think that's the message that, Karthik is telling us, where you have to see what's good for you at this time in your life, right? And whether you qualify for this generic content that is supposedly good for everyone. With that being said, I'm curious to, I mean, it's very clear to me that your rules for working with somebody always focus a lot on the person directly, which is very important, tailor made, And I also hear you saying, look at the sustainability of your life rather than the before and after. As you said, it's the after, using your words. So, what would be the process for anyone that would work with you, Karthik? Just run us through the start to finish sort of framework that you generally apply.
When I'm starting the conversation with a client or a lead who wants to engage with me to help improve their fitness, first thing I'm trying to understand is what is this uh, person's current lifestyle? Where are they looking to go from here? And then my role as a fitness coach when I start working with them day to day is to first give them a plan that is doable, help them stick to the plan through various situations, busy work days, work travel, family emergency, all of this week to week. And always keep thinking about solutions to make it doable for them and make healthy choices easy for them. Remove friction along the way. Get them from point A to point B. I don't promote, I don't promise X kg weight loss in Y amount of time. I don't say 10 kg weight loss in 2 months or anything like that. I am very clear about it when someone reaches out to me. I'm helping them establish these healthy habits. There are about 7 habits that I focus on, help them get better at. Right? It's around your water intake, how much you sleep, how much protein you consume, how much fiber you intake for your health, how many days in a week are you able to lift weights, are your lifts improving over time, and how much you're walking through the day. So all of these are habits we try and improve upon and integrate all of this as part of their current routine. So basically make fitness work for their life rather than completely overhaul their life because they have a fitness goal. They want to reduce weight, improve strength, feel better, manage their diabetes, hypertension, or such lifestyle diseases. And this happens over 3 months on an average. Clients work with me for 6 months where I equip them to be able to handle different situations and keep at fitness. Right? Think all or something all the time. Uh, and yeah, and look at it as a way of life rather than uh, trying to go all out for a week or two, or even a month, and then burn out within that time.
and and of course, having worked with Karthik, I can vouch for that approach, and the principle of making things doable is the philosophy in which that he operates. There's so much that we can talk about. There are so many other topics that I had in mind that I would have loved to cover in this episode. AI is one thing. What is the role that AI is playing with respect to fitness and health today? But I think that's meant to be a conversation for a different day. If there is one thing, Karthik, that you'd like to give as a piece of advice to anybody from the older generations, and one piece of advice for anybody from the younger generation, what would you like that to be?
Yeah, for the younger folks, my advice or guidance would be try and not compare their body, their physique to someone else, especially to what they see on social media. And if we extend that to the older generation, parents and young parents, slightly older parents, don't compare your body or your current physique to what it was in your 20s or during your teenage. Right? That happens a lot. Life situation has changed, and comparing to others or comparing even to yourself 10, 20 years back, before you were a mom, before you were a dad, when you had where definitely lesser responsibilities than you have now, uh, is the fastest way to kill your motivation and burnout. If I can add to that, I would ask the younger generation to look at exercises, the SIP they are doing for their health for now and in their old age. So they can start early, stay consistent, compounding will do its magic, right? And for the folks in their 30s, 40s, and beyond, I think it's useful to look at exercise as low cost health insurance. Can be free of cost too, depending on uh, what you want to do, body weight exercises and few dumbbells. But yeah, it is preventive health.
Very well said. Preventive health. Yeah.
Cool. I guess with that, we've come to the end of this episode. Goldie, is there anything else you'd like to share before we bring this episode to a close?
Well, a big thank you. I think he's definitely deserving of that and more. I've thoroughly enjoyed this moment and this conversation, apart from so many things that, one always knows. But I feel with fitness and health, there's always this idea behind sticking around the right people and hearing the right words. Just intensifies and reiterates the message so clearly for us, and I think we're very grateful to Karthik for that, for giving us that opportunity, because quite literally I finished this recording and I'm off to the gym. It was scheduled, of course, but I feel like, oh, you're doing the right thing, Goldie, like, because the message is being said from an expert. And I think those are the things that just keep you going, right? And it's what Karthik said, don't compare yourself to others and others' bodies, because that was a big motivation killer. So that really stuck with me as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Karthik, for being a part of this episode and dropping all this gold on us and on all our listeners as well.
Thank you for having me, both. I know we've connected separately, definitely have a lot more interaction with Lakin week to week. But thanks for considering me and having me on. It's wonderful chatting.
With that, we've come to the end of episode 37 of Mind the Jenga podcast. I've been your co host, Lakshan.
And I've been your co-host, Goldie.
Thank you so much for listening, watching, and tuning in all the way to the very end.
Muchas gracias a todo el mundo.
See you in the next one.
Hasta pronto.
Bye.